The March 2025 Heathrow Airport crisis represents one of the most catastrophic failures in modern transportation crisis management, resulting in 1,351 canceled flights, 120 diverted aircraft, and approximately 300,000 stranded passengers. The financial impact exceeded £50 million in passenger compensation claims alone, while the reputational damage continues to ripple through the aviation industry, defying precise calculation. What began as a local power outage rapidly escalated into an international travel catastrophe, primarily due to a devastating breakdown in crisis communication. The initial incident, a fire at a local electrical substation affecting 5,000 homes, triggered a chain reaction that paralyzed one of the world's busiest airports. Throughout this escalating crisis, Heathrow's entire official communication consisted of just one tweet, creating what would become a case study in failed crisis management. This information vacuum created what experts term an information deficit spiral. As the crisis unfolded, passenger anxiety increased exponentially, not linearly, with each passing hour of silence. The absence of an urgent news section on Heathrow's website proved particularly problematic, leaving hundreds of thousands of travelers without official guidance on critical decisions regarding their travel plans. Basic information needs, such as estimated disruption duration, likelihood of resolution, alternative flight options, and accommodation availability, went completely unaddressed. The contrast with industry best practices is stark. When Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport faced a similar power outage in 2018, they implemented a comprehensive multi-channel communication strategy, including 30-minute website updates, dedicated social media teams working in shifts, physical information points throughout the terminal, and direct SMS updates to passengers. This approach contained their crisis rather than amplifying it, demonstrating the critical importance of maintaining an intact information ecosystem. In Heathrow's case, the information vacuum created by official silence was quickly filled by unofficial sources. Airlines began establishing their own information networks, while stranded passengers formed impromptu communities through social media and messaging apps. Media outlets, lacking official updates, relied increasingly on these unofficial channels, effectively surrendering control of the narrative to a patchwork of varying reliability. The situation becomes even more troubling when considering Heathrow's explicit warnings about energy infrastructure vulnerabilities in December 2024 regulatory filings. Just 3 months before the crisis, the airport had formally documented concerns about underinvestment in critical systems, specifically highlighting energy infrastructure vulnerabilities. This foreknowledge makes their subsequent communication failure particularly baffling and raises serious questions about organizational preparedness. The regulatory environment played a significant role in this breakdown. Heathrow's single-till framework created financial disincentives for investing in resilience measures, leading to crisis communication infrastructure being treated as an optional expense rather than a critical necessity. When the crisis hit, backup systems proved insufficient to support the entire airport, revealing a fundamental misunderstanding of crisis management requirements and the false economy of cutting corners on critical infrastructure. Leadership visibility, or rather its absence, further compounded the crisis. CEO Thomas Wolby's delayed appearance, coming only after the worst of the disruption had passed, created a critical leadership vacuum when stakeholders needed reassurance most. This absence of visible leadership allowed external voices to define the narrative and amplified public perception that the situation had spiraled beyond control. Demonstrating the crucial role of leadership presence during crisis situations, the crisis highlights the critical importance of the communication audit framework's components, particularly Channel Readiness Assessment and Spokesperson Readiness. Organizations must ensure sufficient communication pathways for various crisis scenarios and prepare leadership for effective crisis communication through media training, message development, and regular scenario exercises. These aren't optional extras, but fundamental requirements for modern crisis management. Communication resilience testing emerges as a crucial lesson from this crisis. Just as organizations conduct technical system tests, communication teams should regularly stress test their crisis response capabilities. These tests must simulate not only the crisis itself, but also the accompanying challenges of information overload, stakeholder demands, and media scrutiny. They should identify potential bottlenecks and single points of failure before they become critical during an actual crisis. The connection between pre-crisis warnings and post-crisis accountability creates a particularly challenging dynamic. Having documented their awareness of vulnerabilities, Heathrow's leadership faced difficult questions about their preparation levels. This situation highlights a common organizational blind spot, the dangerous assumption that acknowledging a risk is equivalent to preparing for it. The Heathrow crisis demonstrates the inextricable link between technical infrastructure and human communication in modern crisis management. Organizations cannot succeed at one while failing at the other. The absence of backup communication systems amplified the technical failures, creating a perfect storm of confusion and chaos that affected hundreds of thousands of travelers across multiple continents. This case study underscores a fundamental truth. In today's complex operating environment, communication isn't secondary to technical resilience. It's an essential component of it. Organizations must integrate their technical and communication protocols, ensuring robust communication channels and clear deployment protocols exist alongside technical backup systems. The failure to do so can transform a manageable technical incident into a full-blown crisis with far-reaching consequences. The lessons from this crisis extend beyond aviation, offering valuable insights for any organization operating critical infrastructure. Documenting risks without implementing corresponding communication protocols creates dangerous false security. True organizational resilience requires both technical and communication systems working in harmony, supported by well-prepared leadership and regularly tested response protocols. The price of failing to heed these lessons, as Heathrow discovered, can be catastrophic both financially and reputationally.